All right. It is 6 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Melissa, let us know she was not able to make it tonight. The first order of business is to accept the minutes of the September 27th regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
You do.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Carrie. It was a long meeting, well recorded.
A lot of words.
Visitor comments and petitions. Is there anybody here that wants to raise anything that's not already on the agenda? Go ahead, MP.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping we'll get an update on the latest, hopefully that other bid came in this week for the repair work on East Shore Drive.
Yes, I'll wait until Janet comes back to give the update. I don't think that we will have a decision here tonight, but I am hoping that maybe we could schedule a special board meeting next week if we can get a quorum to review bids that come in. She's waiting on a couple of other details to make sure that we are comparing apples to apples with the proposals that she has in front of us. So hopefully we can make a decision and move forward soon.
Good. Okay, well, that'll be publicized if you have an extra meeting next week.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. And I have one other item, since the storm, the latest storm with the 6 inches of rain, almost, I don't know, a lot of the upper end of East Shore Drive was washed out. And that, of course, is our only exit.
Yeah, I think it's best to wait. I know that one of, Janet has a handout here for us around, things with washouts and issues created by the event. So I am not as familiar with that. So she just stepped out of the room to make copies. So if you don't mind, let's wait and do a detailed road update in Janet's report because she has the most up-to-date information.
So are you saying wait till this week or wait around right now?
No, just wait around right now. We'll handle it during the town manager's report. Janet just stepped out of the room and, so I don't want to give bad information.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, not for me.
All right, ferry service update. John is not here. We did hear since our last meeting that kind of a final winter schedule. It sounds like we didn't get a 7th run, but they did add back trips on Christmas Day, so. Right.
It's the same schedule we always.
Yeah, except for last year.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I can just take these and just like seeing back and forth.
Any other questions or comments on the ferry? The sea level rise update, we met last week. We are very, very close to a final RFQ that I'm hoping we will be able to publicize at the beginning of next week to get an alternatives analysis and really assess different options for how to address sea level rise at the Narrows. I will make sure that everyone gets a copy when it is ready for final print. The hope is that we'd have a couple of weeks where we would to give a chance for engineering firms to respond, and it would be a quick turnaround, but hope to have somebody on board by mid-November, certainly kind of before Thanksgiving is the goal. So the next sea level rise committee meeting is October 26th, Thursday. Any sea level rise questions? Great.
The Municipal Building Project Committee met last week. We, do not have the final numbers, but we do have a deadline for those final numbers from H.E. Callahan. And that's, the 18th, October 18th, so next week. So at the next select board meeting, I'll be able to report on where we are at. There is no change to the plan to build both the Up Island Public Safety Garage and the Health Center. And begins construction in November and end in May or June. There's no change in that. But we'll get the guaranteed maximum price and a contract sometime shortly after the 18th.
Questions for Lauren? All right. Next up, upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports. There's a planning board meeting on October 16th. Anything else? Okay. Town managers report. I know, Inky raised during the visitor comments and been taking questions about roads, which I know you're going to get to, but I just wanted to make you aware of.
Okay. I've given you minutes from the September 28th Lighthouse Restoration Committee meetings. The Municipal Building Project Committee minutes of June 29th. Harbor Committee meetings of August 29th. The Bar Harbor Capital Reserve account, that's our capital reserve, through September 30. We received a letter on October 2nd from IAP, sending us as the town as an abutting property owner to their land. They're going to be developing down the Ruthie James Road. And I'm not sure if it's going to be serviced by that Ruthie James Road. I know it's land that Mark Snare used to own. But they're going to be developing 2 new rental houses. And we're a butter, so that's why they let us know. Has that approved, Karen? That hasn't
It hasn't been approved yet. It's going before the planning board. It was tabled at the last meeting.
Okay. And I sent you some emails from John King. I believe they probably were forwarded to you at the time, but I'm just keeping them in the minutes, the records. Talking about the Margaret T. Smith winter schedule effective November 6th. And everybody received an audit. They just came in the mail yesterday. My only good news that I have is the Ford big town truck is back and running nice and quiet, and Jordy's very happy. So East Shore Drive, we now have 3 bids received, but I still have more to do with them. I have to check references. One company just sent me 4 pages of references. I think I'll pick and choose 3. I've already talked to a couple of people. So I'm waiting on references from the other 2. What else about that? Of course, the rainstorm hasn't helped East Shore Drive at all. And Mike Boucher, very nice lift. I'm not sure if it was Saturday. Might have been Saturday during the storm. Did a lot of road work from McDougal's down along Charlotte's Cove because that road washed out. So people, that was their only exit. So he repaired that to the point. It still needs stones, which actually Peter had to go off today to get some more fill material. Because we were having a meeting this afternoon with Fred, Jordy, and I was going to have Peter, but he was out of town, working on the list of roads and damages for Fred to submit to Waldo County, FEMA, and then NEMA, to see if this helps with the countywide assessment. So I'm trying to get Jack Earl to see if he can do a couple things. I think he couldn't do things until the weekend, but that's only 2 days away. He didn't get back to me, and Peter's done a lot on East Shore Drive already. There were several things that happened because of this rain that he had to correct. Kellis Point's another one that's got a deep washout near, Evan Schmidt's driveway, like the edge of the road, which it probably wasn't much on the edge of the road, it's dropped off. And it's about 10 feet, and it's been, there's cones there, but that will need. And I just heard from Kurt on Acre Island, they need a culvert to repair something in their yard, and I'm asking him to send me pictures, that's the other thing, Fred's. We're trying to get pictures of all these, because, FEMA wants pictures, so. But there's a myriad of things, but I think East Shore Drive and Keller Point Road are the two big ones, unless I hear from anyone else. Peter's done several things already, as you can see, replaced the culvert and repaired two culverts that had washed up and he just had repaired, placed there like a week, 10 days ago. People couldn't get in their driveway. And unless, I think I answered, I only had probably 3 people email me, so unless other people like Dave has taken some calls and unless anybody else has issues.
I'm wondering if, I noticed that there is a spot on the side of the road on West Bay Road that looks like it's starting to become undermined, and I just didn't know if it made sense to raise that with DOT. It doesn't look like it's in imminent danger, but it could, with another big rainfall, I imagine.
Whereabouts? By someone's house?
Yeah, by crates, I think.
Yeah, it has like a stick or something
Yeah.
coming out of it.
By Nancy Craig's driveway, where they just replaced the
Yeah,
culvert?
there's a washout there on the other side as well. There's a few spots. Might wanna take a look at the culvert by Kenny Coombs' driveway as well. That thing really fills up now.
The brand new culvert?
Nope, up further, at Kenny Coombs' driveway.
Oh, Kenny's driveway.
Yeah, on Mill Creek, since we're talking about DOT, between my place and Donnie Shan's, there's a culvert and it's plugging up, so that the water from the creek behind us, got plugged and the water rose quite dramatically. It needs to be cleaned out and enlarged, looks like to me, but I don't know about culvert, but it looks like it's too small and too high. And so brush has gotten in there and built up.
Oh, yeah. All right, those, I will, email. Thank you. But yeah, it looks like Nancy Craig's into her driveway to get that big tree. I think that's, there's some.
And then I know when you and I met this morning, we talked about maybe having a, not emergency, but sort of emergency, select board meeting next week so that we could review and decide on the, East Shore Drive contracts. Does that still feel like it makes sense based on your work today to get, kind of tie up the loose ends with folks?
If we hear back and if you just wanna go with what we have at that time, you know, if we don't hear back and get answers about,
Yeah, and I feel like if we don't have answers, then
yeah,
we understand enough about their level of interest in the project, and if people would be able to make a brief meeting next Wednesday at normal time, or not opposed to a different time. I feel like it would be,
what's going on here?
Planning board subcommittee at 5:30, they could possibly reschedule.
Yeah, unless you wanted to do it earlier.
Or maybe they
I'll
can
be
do it
on
early.
island that day, but I should be able to be back by 3:00,
Oh, okay.
I think. 4:00.
So if we said 5:30 or 6, is that,
And just leave.
huh?
I'd leave it at 6.
Okay. Do you wanna check with them, make sure that they could?
I would just, if we can make a decision before 2 weeks from now, I'd like to
Yeah.
get it moving.
Yeah,
Do you need to let them know that there's a deadline or do they already?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will. Cause I just had someone come in yesterday. So I will let that person know. 18th at 6 p.m. Any questions? What's the end of mine?
I have one other question about the state valuation.
Oh,
I'm just interested in how the state valuation compares to our total valuation.
that I don't know. I can ask Rob. I'm sure he has, and that's been something recent. I can ask him. I don't know. It's just,
Okay.
he was here. Well, he was here yesterday, but
Yeah, I know when we had the meeting with him, he did say what the total valuation was, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but.
I could probably find it in all his paperwork that he does for the commitment. But I usually don't just contact him.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be interesting to see how it compares.
Yeah, I'm surprised I think we used to be number 3.
Cool.
Now we're number 4.
I don't know, I think in this area is where we want to be first. All right, any other questions for Janet?
Is this a time for me to speak, Shay?
Yes, go ahead and be.
Okay, thank you, Janet. You answered some of my questions. I just wanted to, one other thing. As we know, Mike Boucher came out and he went all the way up to Reeves, the whole section right up to where it's blocked off. He scaled it back. He did a fair amount of ditching. And why
If I think you're breaking up, we're getting maybe,
town? What's that?
we're getting like a third of what you're saying.
Oh, boy, yeah. Mike Boucher was out early in the morning Sunday. He was mostly done just after 9.
I'm sorry, MP, we still aren't
I
hearing.
this work?
I've talked with him and I did thank him. I gave him a call yesterday morning. Yeah, it was great that he would be able to do that and, yeah, we all appreciate it. I know you all did, especially.
Available town to do this work on that weekend?
What?
Was there no one available to do this
Oh,
Was there no one else
work
available?
I know Peter Coons was out of
From the-
town.
town that weekend?
Yeah, I don't know what Georgie was doing, but he
Faye was
couldn't,
out of town.
Yeah.
Faye was out of town.
Faye was out of town. I was completely surprised. I was in Chelsea and it barely rained there, so no one called me and said, or texted me. Fred talked to me the next morning. Then when I got home, I went looking and
Yeah.
riding on it.
Yeah, I talked to Mike. I caught him here and he said that Fred gave him permission to do that work. And he did a really nice job. He did a fair amount of ditching too, which was necessary. I'd like to point, several years ago, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, Peter put some really big boulders down there right by the beach. Those have been knocked over. So there was, I think I lost about 10 to 18 inches of beach coverage. It was pretty severe. So yeah, I hope the town will follow up. And as I say, we probably do.
Right,
When it needs to be,
Right.
we need to hear it. That's
right,
not-
sometimes you're
more-
really
or,
clear, and then I
Stone
feel
and-
like,
maybe even a little more ditching work. My other
MP, unfortunately, we're not
Can you-
getting thing that you're saying right now.
Can you hear
No,
Maybe you can email me.
now?
no, it's still breaking up. I don't know if, I don't know if you could write what
No.
you have to say in the comments, or if it makes sense
No.
to.
Or come to the meeting.
Yeah, you can try to use the chat. You're breaking up quite a bit.
Under the, can I write it under Q&A
In the chat.
in the chat? Okay, I'll write a note in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Disabled the attendee chat. It's been disabled. It's been
Okay.
disabled.
Okay, I'm trying something.
When there's no access at all, is it a way that we could
You have a cell phone?
Yeah,
be, no,
That's a good idea. He can actually call.
Never call one of you guys. You're on speaker.
Might be the same problem.
We could give it a try.
and we're still really breaking up. I don't know if, I mean, I know that this is really important, so I wanna make sure that we get what you are saying. I don't know if, you can see the chat that Carrie is trying to initiate with you. And if not, I don't know if it makes sense to either send an email to Janet and the board so that we can see your message, or, or schedule a meeting, a time to come in to make sure that we get your input.
What would happen if she called my phone? I could listen to her. No.
I'm just concerned of.
yeah, the chat's not working.
Okay, would you be willing to maybe put your comments in an email to Janet and the board?
Okay, this question and answer she's got working.
Okay,
That'd be good. Throw it right.
Yeah, now we're talking sounded good.
well, I'm just wondering if. Something that.
No, are you getting anything?
That's the.
Okay. It sounds like maybe, Ivy, what we'll do is, we don't see any questions right now, so I know you're working on. Drafting that. We will move on, and if we see comments come up, we can circle back to this discussion after our next item on the agenda. If we can get the communications going, and if not, then we will look for an email from you to make sure that we respond and follow up after the meeting. Okay, old business, next up, Maine Power Options, Dick DeGrasse and the Energy Committee.
Thank you. A lot of good news, I think,
Yesterday, the Energy Committee met and took up the issue of Maine Power Options. And with the help of the head of Maine Power Option, who was with us by Zoom, which fortunately, and came in, whom I talked with on several occasions, kind of added a little bit of hope to the whole equation. We have been a member of the Maine Power Options for a long time, apparently, and I don't know exactly when it started, but we haven't utilized them as a supplier of power for several years. I believe since, I just don't know when it all started and stopped, but we have not used them, even though they being Maine Power Options, has the accounts, which Janet passed out a few minutes ago. The accounts listed here. You see the CMP account numbers. And those are the accounts that are listed by Maine Power Options today. And we voted last night. Just an iteration. You might remember that I sent a memo to everybody here in the select board on September 7th, just about a month ago. And I outlined the fact that 62% of the electric bill that everybody receives, including this particular facility and the municipality, is unregulated. It's licensed but unregulated. And that's totally over the heads of everyone that I can remember. I see Lauren nodding. Thank you, dear. Someone understands it. And that means that any savings are real. And the savings that we will get for 62% of your electric bill, which is a standard offer. That's the standard offer, 62%. And the savings, and currently, Maine Power Options offers a savings of approximately 5 cents a kilowatt hour, a little bit more. It varies from day to day because of the seasons of the year. And this is a low rent season because it's between winter and summer. And so it's about a 5 cent a kilowatt hour. And that represents 15–20% of your bill. I mean, it's as simple as that. So what I'm proposing, and I found this out after I did some homework for the last year, as Phil was kind enough to encourage me to move ahead on it. I did a lot of homework on off-peak power and different rates available to this community, because I knew a year ago that the rates were 20 and 25% too high here. And the reason is because it was deregulated. The generation was deregulated in year 2000. And at the same time, Maine Power Options was created in 1999 to make sure that the municipalities didn't fall into the pit of unregulation, supply only. So they gave them the option, and it was quite an involved World Bank, so forth and so on. But nevertheless, that has existed. And currently there are about 245 communities in the state of Maine that are members of the Maine Power Options. And so the Maine Power Options head came in, was at the Zoom meeting last night. I finally got what I wanted, and that was a vote by the Energy Committee for this committee here to proceed. It's your, this is, I don't think the Energy Committee has any authority to force a vote by the select people, but certainly they encouraged it. And I think they finally got a review of the Maine Power Options and the potential savings that can be achieved. So we voted, and I think Gary has the copy of the vote. We had a little bit of a discussion about the vote. I wanted a solid vote by the committee, the Energy Committee. I didn't want any waffling or assumptions. And so I got the vote, and it was 100%. Everybody voted in favor of it. And I have the vote here with my markup, and we changed a couple of words, but nothing significant. And I believe you have it, Carrie, but I'll give you this in any event. So we voted in favor of it and propose that the select board consider the purchase of electric supply, not the delivery of CMP, electric supply from Maine Power Options, and proceed as soon as possible, because the rate changes so sometime mid-November when it starts to get cold, and the rate would change, and probably we need at least a year contract. at the current rates. And that would give us a little bit of an advantage, even more of an advantage. So that's where we are. And I believe since the Maine Power Options has the list of accounts that they had from originally years ago, this list, I believe, is now in the hands of everybody here at this table. And I believe it's a matter of Janet, with the select board help, I would assume, that Janet called, came in and said, let's go. And they being Maine Power Options, notify CMP that they're changing from the standard offer, which is the expensive stuff, to Maine Power Options. That becomes the responsibility of the Maine Power Options staff. And they have a couple of people on the staff and stuff like that. I've tried to avoid it early on, establishing an aggregate group on the island to buy power for everybody. And that's another subject and then bring it up, but that meant lawyers and things like that. This costs nothing to do, to implement. We're already a member, and the member fee to join is low anyway, so $150 or thereabouts, assuming that we have electric bills around $100,000 a year for the municipality or something like that, I roughly. I have included the school here because the school is a big customer, and they were whacked pretty hard last spring for high rates. And I have the bills, and now I have their included, their account is included here. So my hope today and tonight was that the select board vote to proceed. It's as simple as that. Proceed to buy power supply from Maine Power Options, as opposed to the to standard offer.
Question, this, at some point, we were purchasing from.
Yeah, apparently, I don't know the past, Lauren. I really don't. I don't know. The answer is yes to that, but I don't know whether certainly I don't
Why
believe
it ended.
Janet's
Yeah. Okay.
management. So, but it was before that. And I don't know how the thing disappeared. There was times when rates were not a big issue here. You know, the power costs were cheap, presumably, cheaper than they are today, certainly. And so I think nobody really cared, and they probably just went by the board. But I don't know the answer to that. But there's a lot of power, a lot of companies, a lot of villages, a lot of municipalities in the state of Maine that are members of this. There's over 800 accounts and 245 municipalities. So it's a big organization. We're not breaking any new ground here. And the only caution I would have is, Lauren, is when we start to consider new buildings, we want to be a little bit sensitive to the energy scene, because we're going to have a different rate. And my temptation is to call, now that we have a supplier that I can deal with directly, my hope is to be able to call that, we're talking the future, be able to talk with that supplier about a time of use rate for the ferry and for other projects here in the island. And in the meantime, I'm also going to talk to, if we get this voted tonight, for example, and we proceed with getting a new rate from the Maine Power Options, I would just love to talk to some of the big private companies and say, boys, you know, it's time you shape up here, because they've been selling us power at the standard offer rate for too darn long. And it's time we got that back in line so we can handle the rest of the island, not just the municipality.
What's the rate that you're proposing?
Between 10.5 and 11 cents.
Okay, current rate is 16.63.
Yeah. That's it's 5 cents to roughly bill savings. And that's a huge savings in electric power. So that was my
Do you
hope is that
or-
we vote.
Do you or any of the members of the Energy Committee have any concerns or reservations about this?
I don't think they understood how the rates work. I think there was a big misunderstanding, and that caused some difficulties with the local newspaper when one of the ladies was talking about saying that Central Maine Power was responsible for the entire bill. They are not.
Yeah.
And that was a huge mistake. And I called her out on that, and there was some friction because of it. But you can't blame Central Maine Power for the whole bill. They're 32% or something like that. then they are regulated by the Public Utility Commission in the state of Maine.
But I think,
CMP is regulated.
I think your question was specific to, in the discussion yesterday, were there any questions or concerns that came up relative to entering into a contract with Maine Power Options?
The only one was the cost of power. That was a concern, and the cost of power varies a fraction of a cent from week to week. But at least they're an advocate for us. The Maine
So-
Power Options is an advocate. They're not out there to try to take more money. It's not a profit-making venture. They're advocates for the communities they serve.
I
And
can
this is my
clarify.
ignorance right now.
So there's a
but
question
what-
about
What,
money.
what drives if it varies, what drives the fact that it varies? Why does it?
Seasons of the year. This is the off-season, October, November, and then when it starts to get cold, you get a lot of electric heating. And in the summer, you get a lot of electric air conditioning and heat pumps and things like that. Heat pumps peak the systems because they become inefficient at low temperatures. Or they are basically direct electric heat at low temperatures. And so that's what's driving it in the wintertime, and the rates are going up. So if we contract now, we're gonna get a cheaper rate for the entire year. And that was the discussion, to answer your question, Shay, you know. And that's a legitimate discussion, you know.
Yes, and just to clarify, the committee voted to encourage you to get a quote from them, and the
Right.
quotes change every day.
Yeah, that's what I thought I read here, that
Yeah,
we should
so,
jump on it
but
when it,
just as Dick said, this is the shoulder season in between cooling and heating, and so
Yeah.
the rates are lower, and they offer contracts between 1 year and 4 years.
Right.
And you can lock in a rate, but then you can call them to get another rate before the end of your contract, or before the end of your current contract.
Yep.
And start a new contract.
is there a way to query them? If we wanted to see if there's a lower rate available before, if we locked in for 4
You might be
years.
able to, you're talking about a fraction of a cent here.
Okay,
You're not talking a penny or 2 pennies a kilowatt hour, you're talking a fraction of a cent. And that can change, because the Maine Power Options organization is negotiating for power on a regular basis, maybe once a month, maybe once every couple of weeks, and negotiating to try to make their power mix cheaper for their members, of which we would be members.
Mhm.
And so there is a slight difference. Also, when the price of oil goes up, or natural gas is the big number. That and hydro, fortunately, 67% of our energy in this room tonight is New Brunswick Power. So that's mostly hydro and nuclear. And the next era energy is the remaining, 60, whatever is left over. They supply the other half of the standard offer. So we need a vote to proceed, and I would assume that I would say if Janet needs any help contacting them, I'm at your disposal, Janet. I mean, what I can do.
And they can provide a sample contract as well before you decide.
Yeah. It's not you ought to probably read the fine print, but people have been reading the fine print since 1999. And I would assume that any legal problems have long since been sorted out, because the communities that are members, the 245 communities that are members in the state of Maine, they're not stupid, and they know how to call lawyers if the contracts look like there's some difficulties. And my assumption is that that's been ironed out a long time ago. If this was new, it would be a different story, but it's not.
No, certainly, but we also need to make sure that we review any contract that we sign.
Yeah, I would
So,
send it to the town attorney for her.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might want to have the town
I think
attorney,
that would be-
certainly, of course.
prudent next step would be to, if we're going to do any kind of vote or motion, it would be to get a contract and review it before we
Sure.
make any final decisions. And it'd be wonderful, and they may be able to provide it. When did our previous contract end? And
We don't
It
have
just-
it.
not
You
yet.
could end the service
No,
of
there was
Central
one
Maine Power
before.
today.
we're already enrolled, so at what point did we,
stop.
And why?
right?
If it's been a good deal, why would we stop a decade ago?
And it's likely that it just, it transitioned from one town manager or something else.
I don't
And
remember.
fell through the cracks, but due diligence would be taking a look at when it
Can
stopped.
they tell?
See if there's any.
Main Power
What's up?
options tell why it stopped or when it
I have no
stopped?
idea. Yeah, I really don't know.
But can they,
I would assume that if you talk to Central Maine Power and said, I want to take that account and switch it over to Maine Power Options, which is what we're talking about here. They would take standard offer off your bill, which is right there next to the delivery charge. And in that standard offer would be removed and Maine Power Options moves in.
No, no, no,
Right, the billing cycle.
We understand.
We follow that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I understand.
I think the question is, I mean, it sounds like we have already been enrolled as a member for Maine Power Options. And I think what our question is, my understanding is that Maine Power Options is a part of the Maine Municipal Bank.
Yes,
It
it
could
is.
be that we are members because we are members of the Maine Municipal Bank, or are we members because we had previously had purchased power from Maine Power Options? And I think our interest is in asking Maine Power Options to, when we last had a power purchase agreement with them, and maybe we could check our own accounting records to find out when we last presumably paid Maine Power Options, to understand what our past relationship with them had been.
I have Kay's phone number if you want to.
Oh, I probably have it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no added burden.
No, it's just doing due diligence, just to check that we are being clear about what the nature of the relationship was and why it terminated, and it probably was just an accident of time, and but it wouldn't hurt to check that out
No,
and get a contract from them and have them get reviewed by our attorneys. And in essence, I think this is very positive. I mean,
I do too. I do.
Yeah.
I
And
was
then
like, when I saw that, the minute I saw it, I go, whoops. Let's move on this one, because it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And hopefully whatever action happens in the past, I think it probably, energy was relatively cheap and nobody cared at that point. And that happens.
The only other question I have is more of a logistics one in, if the school is included, how the school and town relate as far as paying CMP bills, and if it is a separate processing contract to have the school enrolling. Is that a conversation that we need to have with the school, or is that something that already is sort of streamlined in how the payment and accounts are handled?
Is it under the town umbrella or is it separate?
They pay separately.
Okay.
Okay,
The
so,
bills go to the school. I
They
don't
would
know how
get the
many
same rate
bills
we
they
would.
have.
right, but it would likely be a separate
Separate
contract.
Yeah, it's a separate account, certainly, with Central Maine Power. Central Maine Power holds onto the accounts, even though they only bill 36%, 32% of the bill. But the school would have, instead of standard offer on the school bill, which I've looked at, it would say Maine Power Options, and they would pay the same price we do.
Right, but we can't enter into a contract with the school for changing their power, so.
Now, that's true, you'd have to talk with them, but I sound like they're pretty eager to do it.
Well, they could do it.
Right, but I think, we'll start with getting a contract to review for the town, and then based on what we find, it's certainly something, luckily, we've got a couple of.
I wouldn't delay it too long because the price is right now.
Now, if we could get a contract to review at our next meeting, then, we'd be ready to.
And I'm willing to do anything I can to help the process along.
You've helped a lot, Dick. Thank you very much.
I live here too.
Great, so does it sound like, do we need a motion to, ask for a draft contract, or do you feel like you have what you need?
I have one.
Okay,
Okay.
excellent. Thank you, Dan.
My pleasure. I've been waiting for a long time to be able to do this.
Yeah. Well, this is a good turn of event.
There's more to come, and it's a little more sophisticated,
Yeah.
but I know how to do it. My son, by the way, was at the meeting last night. He's a senior engineer at Green Mountain Power. So guess what we talk about for a week? Every way you can shape it, power you can possibly imagine. They got 5,000 Tesla walls in the state of Vermont.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So
Supplying
changing the
everyone with
whole
batteries,
structure of the
Tesla
rate
batteries.
and solar panels are tied with this Tesla wall.
So that they have
We
backup
could do the
power.
same thing here.
Power goes out.
No.
Giving everybody Tesla batteries. Oh my God.
Sounds like.
Maybe stuff ways.
Once that valuation go farther up, that's the one everybody's house, where it's at the $1 billion mark.
Good night, everyone.
Night,
Thank
Dave.
you. And just wanna, so Impy's comment is, could those of us locked in on either end of East Shore Drive be given a phone call to alert us of any such an emergency promptly? On that Sunday, I had my daughter arriving, traveling up to the coast via bus, as well as expecting guests to arrive. The rental unit phone call would give those of us traveling a chance to make phone calls and be prepared to tell them to not come out to the island. And I think, thanks for the comment, Impy. I think certainly we want to make sure that as the town is aware of any kind of transportation emergency or closed roads, that we find ways to communicate that out as quickly as possible. And I think also we really rely on those residents who, folks who go out in reporting those issues to Fred too, so that it can be a two-way communication in making sure we can identify those critical issues as quickly as possible.
Ask Melissa about setting up some sort of like mass text type shout out that when the town gets noticed and they can push out to everybody,
Interesting, like the school, that's
but have it as a municipal thing.
Yeah.
That way you're not on the hook for calling every resident individually.
Well, like Fred has that for the
Right.
ambulance, right? I mean, what's it called, alert?
Yeah, I wonder how much that costs the school to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely worth,
You'd probably do the fun part.
yeah, that's a great idea.
That'll work better. It works better than the parents, it
Yeah.
does, so.
Yeah, as long as then we just need to know.
Right,
I
I
mean-
mean, that's the.
Yeah.
We want to know about everything, right?
Fred, but I don't know how Fred found out. Sunday morning, Saturday, I don't know when this really transpired.
Saturday night, nothing Saturday night, for all the rain came down,
Yeah.
and Saturday, and Sunday morning, he was probably out and about.
There's a lot of people riding around checking things out, so.
I don't know.
I did see Peter late in the afternoon Sunday looking at culverts.
Yeah, he came back Sunday.
All right, no new business?
I'm sorry, I was muted again. Can you hear me now? This is Impy.
Yep.
Okay, it happened that Mike Boucher was out early, and of course, he watches over this house across the cove here from McDougal's. So, and Mike told me that he talked to Fred, and Fred gave him permission to go ahead and do the work.
Perfect.
But other than that, at the time, Fred didn't know anything, and I don't know if anybody else did, but I thought this last question is because the earlier I could hear, I wouldn't have known, but for Facebook, I went on there and I saw a picture that Butchie put on with how the road was washed out so badly and so forth, and I saw Kizzy got on there, and then I realized that we were really trapped. And if I'd got an official word about that, I could have called people, would have had time to call people and say, look, you can't come out here now, so don't come.
Yeah, no, and Pete had a great suggestion about, seeing if the town could use an alert system similar to what the school does for communications. And I think, having, doing what Mike did first and calling Fred, to alert him of the issue is a good way to sort of trigger that kind of communication system. So, it is a point well taken, and I think it's great to, make sure that people are reaching out to Fred or others to make sure that, that he is aware of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the system is, Pete, that they use for the school? Is it a constant contact kind of thing?
Shoot of constant contact.
Okay,
I haven't received any, I'll have to pull it up to see if I can find an old one, to see if it had a tagline, but we haven't had one in quite some time.
But it's text.
But it's, well, it goes
It's
to all of
both.
it, it's like
Oh.
it sends an email and it sends a text, but the email is from Constant Contact or something similar. And the
It
text is
doesn't,
from
yeah, it
another
doesn't look like
service.
constant contact, but it's, yeah, it's very, it has been pretty reliable.
Yeah, and my phone rings 3 or 4 times back to back to back to back with email, text and email about
Oh,
stuff,
but the
so.
same thing, huh?
But,
Interesting, yeah.
but it works well, and if Fred's already sending something out with emergency services, then if he gets a call about a washout, he can just tap that on.
Especially to those 3 people right there. who are-
Right.
I mean, especially right now, yeah.
It's like with the power outages during that storm, you had your own bona fide Facebook thing there. So everybody reported to that, so everybody knew that there was a power outage here or over here.
Public safety.
You know, if you know you're gonna get 5 or 6 inches of rain, be like, all right, guess what, it's gonna rain. So we have, you know, keep it up, because you know there's washouts all over the island anyway. All right, where is it happening? Same thing.
Do we know 5 or 6 inches is coming? Good,
Yeah,
Well,
it was-
everybody looks at
yeah.
the weather every 2
It was
minutes.
projected,
Complain about
That
something,
much?
so, yeah.
I mean, at least 3 inches.
Part of the,
3 inches were projected.
Yeah,
this
five,
week.
5 was exceptional, but
Yeah.
you know, even at, 2 or 3 inches, you're gonna have an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
that was a big storm. In size.
All right, anything else on that topic? All right, no other business. Next up, approved warrant number 8 for $381,068.80.
So move,
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye. And it looks like we have an appointment. Brooke,
wow. Yeah.
thank you.
I mispronounced it.
Thank you.
Her face.
I saw him and I said, how do you pronounce? He said,
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
because I know, I didn't want. Does she work at school?
No, I met her at the trustee meeting last night. The library trustees met and doing there.
Did they purchase the
Abby.
Abbey?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be honest.
great. Well, is there a motion to appoint Brooke Law?
This book.
Wow.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion?
I think she'd be great.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah.
Those in favor?
Yeah, she's got a lot of library experience, a lot of
Yeah.
fundraising experience, and it'd be great for a
Great.
place like that.
Make it official. Aye.
I.
Okay, I have no other comments for tonight. Lauren?
No comment.
Congrats to the Eagles for beating Pine Tree Academy 3-1 this
All
afternoon.
right.
Oh, wow. 3-1.
Matt Britton, one of our magnet students, will get another hat trick for the season. It's very impressive.
Bill?
Most of you may know or don't, but Donna and I are moving off the island and we're leaving on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
So I just want to let you know that the next meeting is the 25th scheduled meeting. That'll be my last.
Oh, wow.
So I've enjoyed being here. I've really enjoyed working with you guys.
Likewise, you have contributed a lot over a number of years. You've got-
Missing the budget though.
Maybe you can get on the Rockland Budget Committee.
Is that where you're moving to, is Rockland?
Yes.
Well,
So the next regular meeting is your last meeting?
The next
Yeah.
scheduled meeting, if there's an interim,
Yeah, yeah.
interim meeting, then I'll be there for that.
sounds good. Well, you will be missed, but it sounds like we need to have a little party on the 25th.
It sounds like it. That's what I was getting to.
Great.
Definitely.
The music.
You had a cake for me on my birthday.
I know, you want that same cake? I don't remember, I have a clue what that was.
Would it
It
be
was
Teresa?
big.
Yes. Or Phil.
For Florida party on
We just had cake today for Paige. Today's Paige's birthday. Shout out
Oh.
to Paige, and all that he does for us and has done and will continue to do, and we couldn't survive without him.
Yeah.
Seriously, he's replaceable.
I'll be
So,
expecting a cake on my birthday, please.
What's your favorite?
When's your birthday?
Okay, Ellen, keep-
I think it's December. Oh, Christmas, were you a Christmas baby? No gift.
So I guess we'll have to be reminded of, do we wait until the next, do we just have a vacant seat until the next town meeting? Or do we need a special election, or how does filling the vacant?
It's up to you all. You know, if you wanna wait until town meeting, if you decide.
That would be May or
That would be
June.
near June. You know, if you think you won't have at least 3 some of the time, if someone's going away or something,
Phil, can you zoom in?
Season.
Can you zoom in?
Can I zoom in? Well, I won't be living in the town or being the property owner, but I don't think I have the right to say anything.
Yeah. I'm gone in February. No, March.
The whole month.
Last week in February through the first week in April. But I can zoom in, but I can't, we went through this.
yeah,
I can vote, but I can't be counted as a quorum, or one of
I think you can. I
Okay.
think we have voting.
You
times
just
like
have to do
that.
roll call.
Okay,
Um,
I don't know, we do have a referendum coming up in November,
yeah, but
It's too late.
to get
it's
involved.
coming on, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so,
You want me to
Something that we
appoint
can
somebody?
think about.
Or
I know with the
town?
school board, you could be appointed, but you
Yeah, I
can't just
know.
appoint somebody
that's
to the
the
select
future
board.
school.
Yeah,
They can do that until the next meeting,
yeah,
Yeah,
but we, I don't know why.
yeah, okay.
then everybody must show up.
Mhm. Participation mandatory.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations and good luck on your new adventure.
thank you very much.
Keep them in line over there.
Yeah,
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
so move.
Second.
all those in favor?
Hey, there's your next select board member.
There we go, Mike,
Mhm.
Mike.
Almost out of lollipops. I am not coming back.
Fair enough.
He's been showing up at every meeting. Very active.